Welcome to KNN, the video news magazine of the International Churches of Christ. I'm Anthony Galang, and this is my lovely wife, Son. Welcome to the new millennium.
God is using his modern-day movement to define Christianity for an entirely new era. We are so fortunate to be a part of God's spiritual revolution in our generation.
In the 20th anniversary edition of KNN, we showed you how God has powerfully built his church around the world in the past 20 years. In this Millennium edition, we'll be joined by other anchor teams to help you grasp how the gospel is going to all nations.
In only the last 6 years, the kingdom has planted 226 churches in 105 nations of the world. Our feature story takes us on a church planting to Lima, Peru, and is hosted by our Spanish anchor team.
Hola, I'm Carlos Garcia, and this is my co-host, Carla Escobar. I lead a super-region in the Great Mexico City Church. Carla helped plant the church in Caracas, Venezuela. She now is the women's leader for the incredible teen ministry in the Los Angeles Church.
Thank you, Carlos. It is awesome to be hosting KNN with you again. The Lima, Peru mission team was sent out from the South Florida Church of Christ. Peru was the last nation to be planted by the Central and South America churches in fulfilling our commitment to the Evangelization Proclamation. KNN sent a camera along so that you could get a personal view of what it's like to plant a church. The team's mornings consisted of prayer and devotionals to remain absolutely focused on the mission throughout the day.
We're at the Holiday Inn in Flores, and I think we just found our spot for our very first Bible talk.
This guy just woke up to us asking us to go visit his friend who has a drug problem. He saw us with an open Bible, and he just ran up to us from behind and asked us all these questions. And we exchanged addresses, and I mean, it's so biblical. We just want to go visit this guy today.
Bueno, esos son problemas que vienen por no crecer.
Individual Bible studies started right away. The team remained close to God and each other throughout this incredible time. Disciples spent each afternoon and evening inviting people to Bible talks and the historic First Church service.
I'm so excited to be here, and I'm really happy to be able to just see what God is going to do in this city. I can't wait. It's our first Bible talk, and I just can't wait to meet the people, to love up the people, and just to see the miracles that God is going to do.
There's a lot of things in my heart right now, just to see how God's been working the past couple of days, and especially in my relationship with a lot of the brothers from the mission team. And I just feel like God's going to be glorified. And I just pray for us to really have a major victory. I'm feeling the butterflies. I'm just like, it's going to be really, really exciting. I just pray to God that he'll be with me. I know he will.
Through the power of God, the 14 original team members had an attendance of 413 at their first church service.
It's been so incredible to be here in Lima and see all the miracles that God has been doing and working through all of the disciples and all the people that have come from all over the world. We've had people here from LA, people from other countries, Colombia, Ecuador, so many people that God has brought together simply to be at this first service, to see the last frontier fall before God's feet, and to him be the glory.
Definitely, I feel honored to be part of the last planting. My faith has grown tremendously here, and like you all saw in this baptism, especially seeing a new sister in Christ being added to God's kingdom here, it's just the greatest pleasure and the biggest joy.
My wife and my faith grew so much from being with the Lima mission team this summer. That little group of 24 disciples is now over 61, and they have an average Sunday attendance of more than 150. Without question, though, the greatest thing about planting the church in Lima was that now every country in Central and South America has a church of true disciples. To God be the glory.
Hello, I am Bruno, and this is my beautiful wife, Katrina. For years, the Paris church was led powerfully by Brian and Adrian Scanlon. Recently, they returned to serve in the Boston church. They have prepared us so that now our leadership is entirely French. We are so happy that our lead evangelist and women's ministry leader are Franck and Fabienne Descotes.
Disciples and their children have been in the spotlight. Dawn Christensen and her husband Ron are members of the Phoenix Church of Christ.
One thing that really sparked my interest was that if I were to win, I could choose my own platform, and your platform is what you promote and what you believe in, and you could choose any charity that you wanted to promote. And Ron and I had just started getting involved with Hope. I'd never been in a pageant in my life and didn't think I had what it took to win a pageant.
I think it's a great opportunity for her to talk about her things that are important to her, like Hope for Kids, and to share her faith.
During the whole weekend, I had disciples in the audience cheering me on, and that was what helped me in my stage presence, just looking out in the audience and seeing faces of people who weren't just looking at me, who loved me and who were rooting for me through God. One of the things that I prayed about a lot was that God use me in a way that He feels I would be best equipped for. And it seems that I'm called upon to do a lot of work for battered and abused women and children.
I'm a lucky guy.
Dawn has a great story about what motivated them to become disciples.
Desperation and hopelessness. We were in a really bad place in our marriage. We were separated, but still living in the same house because we didn't want to traumatize our children at the time. We were trying to figure out how to do that, how to divorce and not make it traumatic for the kids.
I think I was at the lowest point in my life.
There was no place to turn that we hadn't turned already, and we just had no hope for our marriage and for our future together.
And I was always trying to reach out to Dawn to try to get some little sign of hope from her.
That week, Sherwood Duhan invited him to church.
So I went to church and took the kids, and Dawn met us at church.
I said I wasn't going to go.
I was very apprehensive when I saw her.
That I think God was really working on me. I think God had a plan and He wanted me to be there.
The communion message seemed to be talking about me, and the sermon seemed to be talking about me directly.
Once God saw that we were motivated, that He blessed us so fast. I mean, He just, we did our studies in about 6 weeks, and were baptized on May 17th, 1998.
Our belief in God and in church that's really kept us together and helped us weather problems since then.
In our marriage, God will always come first now, and that we both know that we'll never be able to make it otherwise. And that if we believe in Him, He will always bless our marriage, and we'll always love each other like we do right now.
I feel like we do a much better job of parenting than we did previously.
I never would have guessed that we would be able to give them such a gift. It's amazing to watch through their eyes a relationship with God.
One of the greatest tests of our lives as disciples is our children. 3 best friends from the preteen ministry in the San Diego church recently spoke volumes about being raised as kingdom kids, and they did it on a nationally televised show.
It's now time for Kaz and the Kids. Tonight's 8 to 10-year-olds are not professional actors, haven't been rehearsed, and none of them have been told what to say.
I'll start with you. Your name is?
Alyssa Cassandra Reyes. Rebecca Christine Chacon. Natalie Danny Galata.
How old were you when you first met?
We've known each other our whole lives, and then we met her when we were like 3.
Now, how does your mom know her mom?
By our church. Yeah.
All right. And the name of the church is?
San Diego Church of Christ.
When your parents tell you not to do things, or anything in particular you think is not fair?
Sometimes,
yeah.
Sort of.
And so what do?
Sometimes we just obey them, and sometimes
What?
we don't.
What church you go to?
San Diego Church of Christ.
And you disobey your parents?
Sometimes. We're not perfect. Nobody is.
You think your parents are in search of the perfect child?
No.
Well, what makes you so sure they're not?
Because nobody's perfect.
They told you that?
Yeah.
When?
All the time.
Huh?
All the time.
And what makes them say that all the time?
Because we try to act like it. And
you try to act perfect?
And sometimes we're not. Sometimes and sometimes we blow it. We feel like it.
You blow it?
Yeah.
And then your parents say?
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
These are wonderful parents.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Marty and Chris Fuqua continue to lead the revival in our campus ministries around the world. The 1999 International Campus Ministers Conference was hosted by the London Church with the theme Chariots of Fire. Over 700 campus ministers and student leaders from 50 countries were inspired and challenged. Many college students who were keys to building the London Church are now leading and evangelizing major areas of the world.
It's great to see talented young men and women rising up to lead God's kingdom into the 21st century. Kevin Thompson and Elizabeth Lang are two great examples. They've been serving as ministry interns in the Triangle, North Carolina Church of Christ, which is led by Elizabeth's parents, Sam and Jerry Lang. Following in her father's footsteps, Elizabeth wrote a book for DPI entitled Glory Days. Kevin and Elizabeth were married last year. Kevin is quarterback for the Duke University football team, and recently at a college football game in Nashville, Tennessee, Kevin and another brother, Eric, met Ainsley, a captain of the University of Vanderbilt football team, who is a disciple in the Nashville church.
I am Alex Ignatieff, and with my incredible wife, Irina, we are sector leaders in the IMS region of the Great Moscow Church.
We are thrilled to be hosting this edition of KNN. We are very excited about the great work that Andy and Tammy Fleming did in starting churches in every country of the former Soviet Union. Now we are grateful to have the awesome leadership of Sasha and Luisa Kostenko. A very romantic wedding took place in the Moscow church. Christian Ray is one of the most famous pop music artists in all of Russia. He was appointed an evangelist by Andy Fleming last spring. Then last September he married Deb Smith, a former production manager for MTV, who was serving as a women's ministry leader in the AMS ministry for the LA church. The Russian TV guide told the story of the wedding. Christian and Deb are now leading the fast-growing AMS ministry in Moscow. Now that's making a beautiful music together.
Hi, I'm Leo Tam, and this is my lovely wife, Phoebe.
We're the super regional leaders in the Great Hong Kong Church, which now has a Sunday attendance of over 3,000.
We are excited about the challenge of reaching over 1 billion people in China with the message of Jesus. When people in a family listen to God, He brings them together. In the Tokyo Church, a father and a son are now united in Christ. Lieutenant General Masusono was an incredibly successful soldier in the Japanese military forces. When he retired, he returned to Tokyo, determined to learn about his son's changed life.
ユニバーシティのミニストリー持ってますから忙しくてこう
Both of us are always busy. But every Monday night, we have family night, and we have conversation over dinner. I feel very happy about that. Before we became Christians, when we had different opinions, we would just argue or not say anything. We had bad feelings toward each other. But now, when we face issues or problems, we open the Bible to work it out. We are father and son, but our relationship has become one of brothers.
Right after World War II, George and Irene Giganis moved to Tokyo as missionaries. After becoming a legend in missionary circles, the Giganis retired. Kip McKean called them out of retirement to train in the Boston church and help evangelize the world. The Gaganas are now heroes to the entire modern-day movement of God. They were key in planning the Tokyo Church of Christ, now the largest church in the history of Japan.
Irene just celebrated her 81st birthday. She has recently been in the hospital. Please be praying for her health.
The Boston Church celebrated its 20th anniversary in the beginning of the movement. Numerous churches celebrated their 10th anniversary last year. The Manila Church truly raised our faith and vision with an attendance of 35,000 at their worship and concert.
I see. Hi, we're celebrating our 10th year anniversary here at the Metro Manila Christian Church. And one thing I could say is that dreams have come alive in the last past 10 years.
In the middle of the way, I know he'll never let me down. He is a friend that I have found. Hallelujah, Lord. Hallelujah. I love to praise his name.
We love you, Manila. It is so awesome to be back with the Metro Manila Christian Church and all the different churches of the Philippines. And, you know, I really do want to honor the mission team that was here 10 years ago that arrived here. And I believe today that God is very happy with the lives of these that have sacrificed so much, because they've not only seen the multiplication of disciples, but today we even see the multiplication of churches.
Once again, the Los Angeles Church had an attendance of over 20,000. The occasion was the weekend of their second annual Men's Forums. Forgiven was the theme of the 19 events around the Southland area. Each forum showed the latest K&N film, Forgiven, followed by powerful speakers such as Scott Green, Doug Arthur, and Pedro Garcia. Several of the Women's Day programs on Sunday also showed the film to huge crowds. Incredibly, 462 people were baptized in the LA Church in October. When ACE's World Sector leader Steve Johnson saw the impact of the LA Men's Forum program, he adapted the program for the New York City Church. Their Men's Forum was an outstanding success.
Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock.
Also in LA, a new elder was appointed to shepherd the LA Church in the Middle East World Sector. Dr. Doug Weber and his wife Joanne were converted in the Boston Church. They served powerfully in the ministry for several years. Now they are national leaders of Hope for Kids. Kip McKean appointed Doug at an LA staff meeting.
Shepherd God's people here in Los Angeles.
One of the most profound changes in the world in the new millennium will be how we communicate. Thanks to the internet, millions of people around the globe are meeting other people and accessing information they could barely dream of a few years ago. To keep up with this opportunity, K&N has redesigned the official website of the International Churches of Christ. The new site is reader-friendly and presents a straightforward, unapologetic introduction to our convictions and the miracles God is doing among us. We also introduce another official website, Kingdom News Network, the best news you will ever download. This site is updated often to keep up with the incredible news in the kingdom. There are links to all of the kingdom websites. Also posted are audio clips from DPI and video clips of some of your favorite K&Ns. Check out the link to a website for the latest K&N film, Forgiven. You will be notified of the updates by email when you subscribe to this site. Be sure to let your friends and family know where to find the real scoop on the kingdom. Last summer, CNN reporter Gina London produced a report on the work the Hope Youth Corps is doing in a Romanian orphanage. Gina is a disciple in the AMS ministry of the Atlanta Church.
One orphanage near Bucharest is now getting some outside help, as we hear from Romanian TV.
2, 3,
Go. It's a hot summer day just outside Romania's capital city of Bucharest. But the heat isn't slowing these enthusiastic hard workers. They're volunteers from the United States and England, part of an International Church of Christ Youth Corps program designed to help the poor. Many of the nation's tens of thousands of orphans are housed in large facilities with few caretakers. But this home promises to be different. Another element that makes this home unique is the level of cooperation. Officials from the Child Protection Agency in the county are partnering with the Romanian foundation, Bucharest de Aur, or the Golden Nuggets, and the US-based charity Hope Worldwide, to run the home as a family center.
This is such a wonderful example of the cooperation between concerned Romanians and concerned Americans to bring children who have been in large institutions out of those institutions into family-like environments.
Our real vision is to have a prototype here that's very successful in terms of what it does for the kids and how the government, Hope Worldwide, work together so that it could be a display for others to say, hey, we need that. How could we have the same type of thing in our county, in our region, in our country even?
And at the group home's dedication ceremony, voices of the children from a nearby orphanage bring out sounds of hope for more such cooperative initiatives.
In 1994, Kip McKean wrote the Evangelization Proclamation, and all of the world sector leaders and their wives signed it. They challenged the 146 churches in 53 nations to an unprecedented plan for world evangelism, to plant a church of true disciples in every country that had a city of at least 100,000 by the end of the year 2000. This incredible adventure in faith became known as the 6-year plan. In 1999, 26 new churches were planted as of October. Here are the new countries planted in 1999.
And soul by soul, to all the world, to every nation. One by one, and soul by soul, to all the world, to every nation.
Now, by God's power, His modern-day movement has 372 churches in 158 nations, and only 15 are waiting. All of the nations waiting will be planted by July of this year.
The world population now numbers 6 billion people. The United Nations predict another 1 billion will be added in the next 13 years.
Many people have a fear of the new millennium. How should we view this as disciples? We'll sign off this edition of Canaan with Kip and Elena McKean answering this crucial millennium question in their home.
What you see for us is the challenges of moving to the next millennium as a church.
I really believe that the greatest concern I have for the churches is there's a sense that with the unfolding of the 6-year plan and its completion next year, of getting to all the nations with a city of at least 100,000, to have a church of true disciples there, that there's a sense that it's done, it's over, it's completed. And nothing could be further from the truth. There's so many challenges ahead of us, and in some ways, the easiest part of world evangelism has been done. It's just simply the plantings. Now we've got to get to the lost humanity that now numbers over 6 billion lost souls, and in time 7, 8, 9, 10. But beyond all that, my concern for the disciples is that they have kingdom dreams. And wherever I travel in the churches, particularly in the big churches, there's a sense where people have lost how valuable they are to God and how valuable they are to the church because they're in a big church. Does it make a difference if I give my money today? Does it make a difference if I bring a visitor today? Does it make a difference if I come today? Mm-hmm. And they've lost their value in the eyes of God and what Jesus has done for them. So I think the challenge for the 21st century, first of all, lies in the frontier of the heart, that each one of us remembers what we've been forgiven of and are so grateful. We're just totally sold out for the Lord, are willing to go anywhere, do anything, give up everything for Him, and then we'll complete the job of world evangelism if we have the dream to do that. And then I think as a movement, I see an incredible opportunity to shape the destiny of mankind. I think this is in the mind of God. In places like Tokyo, our church doesn't sound large to some of us because on Sundays they have about 1,200 now, but that's the largest church in the history of Japan. And so in that sense, when someone in Japan wants to know about Christianity, they go to Frank and Erica Kim there in Tokyo, and they say, well, tell us about Christianity, because the Tokyo church is now defining Christianity in Japan. In Moscow, our church is the largest church there. We've got 4,000 every Sunday. And there are 9,000 disciples. We have almost 15,000 every Sunday in all the Soviet Union now. I mean, in a really true sense, we are defining Christianity for the Russian people. This is true in those nations, and it's even becoming true in America. Now, I think it's tougher where Christianity, particularly denominational Christianity, has had a foothold. And in my mind, a hypocritical and to a large degree false kind of Christianity is there. It takes so much more for people to see the truth from the counterfeit. But it was exciting to me. Just a couple Sundays ago, we had over 20,000 people at church. And that made the LA church the largest church, not just in America that day, but in the history of America. And so that's not just happening in LA. That's happening in LA. It's happening in New York, in Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Seattle, Boston. I mean, we are truly, even in a Christianized America, seeing Christianity defined in our generation. And so I'm very excited about getting into the next millennium. I'm excited to see what we're going to do in each of these countries, each of the miracles of conversion. I'm excited to see what my children are going to do, the second generation. I believe in the second generation. I believe in the campus ministry and the youth ministry. Great things are going to be done. Some tremendous young evangelists are going to be coming on up. Some tremendous young women's ministry leaders are coming. But beyond all of that, I really believe by faith that we are going to see God working through the nations and the people of authority and, of course, His church to be able to see the world evangelized in our day. So I'm excited about the 21st century.